The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Let's go! What's that? Gator! It's gonna be a football game tonight now. No doubt. It's gonna be a football game here. Okay. I done been here before. All right, let's go, baby.
This could decide the game.
4th and goal. And they're going to snap it, and it's Trey Burton who throws caught. Foles, touchdown.
Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins!
Ladies and gentlemen, football to the max.
Here are your hosts, Sean Garmer, Gary Vaughn, and Erik Watkins.
Hello and welcome to the first football to the max of the actual regular season. We're not previewing stuff. We're talking about real games that actually happen. I'm your host, Sean Garmer, and here with me, of course, Mr. Erik Watkins.
Oh, today football is back, but boy, was it's back in a weird way.
Yeah, certainly. There's plenty to talk about here. I'm coming from the wet and dreary weather of Miami that had a big time effect on the Miami Dolphins Tennessee Titans game that we'll talk about. And surprisingly for Erik in Jacksonville, it was not so wet.
No, humid but dry.
When's it not humid in Florida? Let me tell you.
We get times in, I don't know, maybe a month or two, and okay, it's about 5-6 weeks in winter. We get a break.
We get winter?
What we up here do, you guys, it's a completely different animal. You've never had to deal with freeze warnings.
Nope. I mean, I haven't. When I lived in Texas, obviously, that's just a crazy smorgasbord of weather over there. But Miami, it's like, if it gets to 50 degrees, people start freaking out here. I'm like, okay, you guys need to get out somewhere besides Miami. But yeah, let's. We're coming from you. We're coming to you on Sunday nights now. So, we're going off of watching Red Zone, watching games that have been on. I kind of got blessed in disguise that I didn't get to watch the Cowboys game in full because I would have been a lot more angry than I am right now. Of course, I've had 3 hours to process it as well of being angry, but still sort of ticked off at the whole thing. I'll get into that as well. But yeah, just there's kind of a lot to talk about. But we're doing it on Sunday just because we're both off. Normally, I used to not have Sundays off, and we won't have a Game Pass this year, so we're trying to kind of be more current about stuff, but we won't be like so in depth. We didn't watch every freaking second of everything, but we try to pay attention as much as we can, all things considered, with it being Sunday and doing things with family and whatnot. But still, like I said, week 1, everybody's been hyped, and lots of things lived up to that hype, and lots of new faces and new places, debuts. But let's get into the craziness that was Sunday Night Football that just ended. Aaron Rodgers goes out on a cart. You're thinking, oh God, repeat of last year. He's down again. Deshaun Kaiser comes in. He actually plays fine for like the first drive. And then the Khalil Mack show starts happening. Interception return for a touchdown. All that. Second half, or the first half ends. You're thinking, oh my God, the Bears are going to steamroll this. what a Sunday Night Football game we just watched. Aaron Rodgers miraculously comes back on the field, and he pulls an Aaron Rodgers and winds up leading them to a comeback victory. The Bears get a shot at it. They actually get 2 shots because they should have gone out on the 4th down initially, but Clay Matthews hits Trubisky in the head way after he shouldn't have even tried to hit him. And they get another set of downs, and they still can't get anywhere near to try to go kick a field goal. What a moment. What did you think of this game? Just crazy stuff happening here.
Okay, one thing I want to address about the Bears and their late game strategy. You had your largest halftime lead ever at Lambeau. Ever. You had your first time that you've led the Bears by double, or led the Packers by double digits in several years.
Right.
When you have Aaron Rodgers, pulling an Aaron Rodgers, going out on a leg and a half and throwing bombs, you get the ball back knowing what's happening. Why do you insist on passing every single down? You had, at the very least, moderate success with the run. You're trying to bleed clock. And even after the Clay Matthews hit that gives you a first down, you've got 2 timeouts. You only need a field goal. Take some time and run the ball. But no. Every single down, throw. Ugh. Ugh.
Yeah, it didn't make much sense to me either. You have timeouts, for one. It's like, run the ball a few times, see if you get any yards, see if somebody breaks a tackle. Things can happen, right? Like, you're making it too obvious what you're trying to do. They were acting like they were behind a touchdown or more, instead of, we only need to get close enough to get a field goal. Throw that down to inexperience from both the coach and the quarterback, or perhaps some of the pressure is getting to them because they're feeling like they've choked this entire lead away, or whatever it is, a combination of both. But yeah, I can't understand the whole, we're going to go super one-dimensional when you have time on the clock, and then even after you got a set of free, basically got given 4 downs, you're still not going to do that. Yeah, it seemed like they were destined to go ahead and just choke the rest of the game away, and it's sad considering that, the Bears defense had done so well. Akeem Hicks had played his ass off, just completely being a terror at the nose tackle. Khalil Mack. Why can't I think of the rookie's name right now?
Roquan Smith?
Yeah, Roquan Smith. His first tackle was a sack. I mean, you had it made to have a heck of a story, and then Khalil Mack's probably thinking, well, I experienced this a lot. So, no, but honestly, it's just, look, sometimes when you got a guy like Aaron Rodgers, your best bet is to keep him off the field. And you did everything to allow them to take the lead. And then instead of just doing your thing, keep doing what you've been doing that got you there, you start panicking. And
yep.
I felt like that's what Chicago started getting too much of. They started panicking. Because there's sometimes where it doesn't matter how many guys you throw at Aaron Rodgers, even if he's limping around, he's going to find a way. And let's be honest, Randall Cobb, heck of a run on that last touchdown, too. I mean, he broke something that should have been a tackle into a whole long touchdown. Heck of a comeback from the whole Packers team to just rally around Rodgers and play better once he got in.
Yeah, you had Adams with a couple of big catches and runs. The catch and run by Cobb weaving through the defense. You had Allison.
Yeah, Allison caught a couple of big throws.
Which I wasn't expecting.
Montgomery. Yeah, they all played a part. All the receivers suddenly came to life when Rodgers was in there, finding them. Again, not that Kaiser played terrible. He played okay. It just felt like the line suddenly felt like, oh, we've really, really got to block, because if somebody hits Aaron in the wrong spot, he could go down for sure. So, are you a little worried, though, that, he said he'll play next week and all that, but he said something in the knee was bothering him, that same knee that he went down with for a lot of last year, that it's not totally healed, and that easily in the first game got tweaked again. Is that a concern?
I would say it's a big concern, and not just because this is Aaron Rodgers, but when something in your knee is bothering you at 35, it's not going to heal as quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You just gave him a huge deal. He's one of the latest $100 million men. And you've now, because of Aaron Rodgers and everything, through some sort of front office wisdom, you traded in and you got DeShone Kizer. Yes, this was against Khalil Mack and that Bears defense, but there's still that history of just him not being ready, not being capable. So if something goes wrong, if Aaron Rodgers is out any considerable amount of time, this is now the third season where you've had to deal with something like this. You haven't handled it well in the past. You're looking like you're not really shaped to handle this well now. I would be worried as a Packers fan.
Yeah, might want to start lining up who you can go find to perhaps back up DeShone Kizer and take his role if you definitely need to do that. But yeah, I think you got to give the Packers a ton of credit for coming from behind in that game, getting 21 points in that fourth quarter, which is ridiculous after everything that the Bears did to be up 17, nothing at the half. They absolutely just upped the tempo, and they took the blitz away. They took the lineman being able to rush Aaron Rodgers, and sometimes it takes that brain of an experienced quarterback to know, like Rodgers, like McCarthy, to be able to trust your quarterback to do that. And you know what you're supposed to do. I love the fact that Rodgers also was like, well, I had to come back in. We're playing the Bears. But, yes. So, look, I would say Trubisky looked better, though. A lot better with Nagy as his coach than the John Fox. So far, the year 1 to year 2 improvement for Trubisky is noticeable.
Big time. And this is where they've done a lot of work in the offseason. You've got a former quarterback who is now your head coach calling the plays. He really felt comfortable opening up the offensive playbook for Trubisky, and it showed. So now we're going to see more and more of what he can provide. It's flashes of greatness, but overall I think, okay, you can see why they wanted to get him based upon the talents that he's showing. His ceiling isn't that high, but again, year 1 to year 2, great.
Yeah, certainly. And this starts our whole series of new faces and new places, or young quarterbacks. We'll get into that as we go through the games, but let's talk about perhaps aside from this game, which this probably wound up being the best game of the day, but aside from Sunday Night Football, who would have thought that you're looking at the Saints and Buccaneers playing, and they're going to put up 88 points between both of them, and Ryan Fitzpatrick was going to outdo Drew Brees?
Hashtag fear the beard.
Fear the beard. Fitzmagic. He himself went on a press conference. It was like Fitzmagic is back. I mean, that takes some gall there, but we know that he is not one to mince words. Like, why not, right? Like, you've only got a couple more games to play. I mean, if he plays like this in 2 more games, I don't know. His name is Jameis Winston. You got to worry about it, but
yeah, Dirk Cutter has still not decided on a Week 4 starter.
Well, you can't really.
Well, considering how the organization is treating Jameis Winston, you can. But, again, he's playing this as it lies, knowing that he's out for himself and trying to keep his job. So far, Ryan Fitzpatrick is looking like a solid choice. It's saying, hey, I know you want this up top. This is what I've got.
Yeah, I mean, let's be fair, though. If the Bucs play like this or get wins against the Eagles, the Steelers, I don't know that you can take Fitzpatrick out, especially if he's the reason that you win. Then one of or both games coming up, you got 2 really tough teams that you're playing. Not to mention you just played a divisional opponent, won a division game to start off the season, and hung with one of the best offenses in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, right now that's a one for Fitzpatrick, but I think a lot, we talked about it as well. A lot was made about, okay, Drew Brees, he's up there in age. Can he still go out there and do this? He went out there and put a heck of a line out there. 37 to 45, 439 yards, 3 touchdowns. I don't think you could have asked more from the guy.
No. He had a Drew Brees type game, what we've seen for about a decade or so in New Orleans. Alvin Kamara really stepped up being the solo guy in the backfield, at least for now. But again, Bucs defense creating those turnovers, turning them into scores. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 5 total touchdowns. You're in the highest scoring season opener in the Super Bowl era. What can you do?
Yeah, it was the Saints did everything they could to make it close as well. They were within 8 with about 30 minutes left. I think also, you mentioned the Tampa Bay defense. A lot was made about the Saints defense. They don't look any different right now. They're giving up everything.
Nope. I mean, just not great coverage for their secondary. Somewhat decent against the run. It was just wow. Be prepared for a lot of track meets if that doesn't get shored up soon.
Yeah, and this is the one thing that I think we talked about the Saints needed to avoid, because even though, yes, we saw Drew Brees do this, right? He could probably keep doing it. It's just it's not great for the Saints, as in, although you have the talent, you don't want to get in shootouts every week with every team. You want to be able to know that, say somebody has a bad game, you'll be all right because your defense will have your back.
Yeah, and the fact that you've seen this before, even when Drew Brees first got there, great. He can throw for 5,000 yards. You can have an insanely prolific offense, but what does that mean if you're a 500 team? Nothing.
Yeah, and they're already showing that. I think certainly maybe a little bit of we got to try to not overreact from a 1 week. Obviously, this is just week 1. So much is going to happen. in the next, 16 weeks of the season that you got left. But it's hard to say, man. Maybe this Bucs defense is a little bit tougher and better than we thought. But again, this was made easier for this defense because of the way that the Saints are so offensive oriented. Michael Thomas didn't help himself by getting the ball knocked out of his hands. So let's see what happens when Tampa Bay plays a much less, we're going to throw it all the time offense. We know what they're going to do here. I would have liked to see what would happen if, Mark Ingram was here, because it felt like they had to pass a lot more because they didn't want to run the tires off Kamara.
True. And once they get that dual-headed monster back in the backfield, I think things are going to settle down and you're going to see a more balanced offense. But you now see what tweaks have to be made in New Orleans. Not an overhaul, which is good, but there's a lot of tweaks.
Yeah, we questioned about if they had anybody besides Lattimore that you could count on as a defender. Right now, that doesn't look to be the case. And even with Lattimore, because Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson combined for close to 300 yards between them. And 3 touchdowns. So, not a great day if you're a Saints defender at all. One of the other big storylines of this whole week, though, is, of course, Le'Veon Bell. Who's right, who's wrong in this situation? What the Steelers' offensive lineman had to come out and say about Le'Veon Bell was not great in the slightest. Lots of players came out defending Le'Veon Bell, which you would expect. And the whole thought process was, okay, we're going to ride James Conner. He's going to come out here, and he's either going to have a big game or he's not going to do that great. And he had himself a big game. He had 135 yards, 2 touchdowns. So on that front, James Conner went out there and performed. The thing is, you wound up in a tie, 21-21, with the Cleveland Browns, who snapped their losing streak.
Woo!
Eric, they're still winless, though. but they snapped the losing streak, and a lot of that has to go on Big Ben. 4 interceptions in this game.
And not just the 4 interceptions, but I paid even more attention as the game got into overtime, and with about 3.5, 4 minutes left in the overtime, I actually just messaged everybody on our group chat. Okay, if the Steelers and Browns end up in a tie, then what? Because between the missed field goals, the just weird play calling, I was like, nobody really wants to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
And even the announcer said, well, should the Browns play for a tie? And I would be like, yes. Go home, just kind of.
I know that was a joke afterwards, and it's like, they didn't want to tie.
Yes.
I mean, come on. No, I definitely. It was such a back and forth deal. It's just every time you thought, okay, this might be the time the Steelers pull away, the Browns defense makes another big play. They forced 6 turnovers on the day. I mean, that Browns defense came to play, as many people thought they would. And Josh Gordon had that heck of a catch from Tyrod Taylor that set everything up to go to overtime. But it's just kind of disheartening, when your linebacker goes and runs all the way down the field after picking up a interception, and then the kick gets blocked that would have won the game. It's not the kicker's fault.
No.
But it's just so Cleveland. Oh, man.
And And all of that, when you're trying to cap a comeback where you were down 21-7, that's just the epitome of Cleveland sports in just one half of football.
So what did you think of, obviously, Tyrod Taylor? Apparently he doesn't have a problem with you calling him Tyrod. It's just that apparently his official pronunciation of his name is Tyrod. So,
well, I mean, it's something that he's heard for years, all throughout his time, Virginia Tech, Baltimore, Buffalo, and now Cleveland. So he gets that it's kind of stuck, and it's a habit. But
he never said anything, though. It's like, if somebody's pronouncing your name wrong, wouldn't you tell someone? Like,
in a heartbeat.
Right? That's just so weird. Like, he's that humble, he doesn't care. But, honest, I thought Taylor played decently. I think you would have liked to see more from him as far as connecting earlier in the game. When it counted, he was there in the fourth quarter. In overtime, I don't know. That felt like it wasn't totally on him, though. There were some just weird play calls on both ends.
There really were. Not to mention, he still had an issue and aggravated with that injury on his hand. So I think that also had a bit to do with it. But he has just gotten a lot better. I mean, already had good accuracy. That's even improved. Got a lot more touch on his passes. That helped the deep balls. It's now, we can't say miles ahead of Buffalo, but there's some big steps. And I think, Cleveland did the right thing to bring him in. And it kind of sucks that he's really only going to be in for this season, because you want to give him a year, maybe a longer than a year, maybe two. But unfortunately, that's not part of the grand scheme.
Yeah, certainly not. I mean, you have Baker Mayfield there waiting in the wings. And it's good that he has that ability to at least stand back there and learn.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't always want to throw them out there from the word go. Not everybody's Carson Wentz. A lot of folks, and that's the thing, even Dak, who we'll talk about, like, he had a great rookie year, and then after that, you would go, is this the same player? But that's the thing. I think the Cleveland's doing it the right way. But do you think that James Conner playing well will have any kind of effect on how they feel about Le'Veon Bell? Obviously, Mike Tomlin's doing the right thing and saying, look, okay, we're done talking about Le'Veon Bell. He's not here. And until he is, we're not talking about him. But do you think that if James Conner keeps putting up these numbers, it lets the Steelers say, well, we're definitely not paying you?
Yeah, because as is, the Steelers are already saving $856,000. And even when he does sign and come back, there's a 2-week roster exemption to where they don't have to pay him right away. So that right there is $1.7 million in the bank. If they've got a guy in Connor who, with the weather, against a divisional rival, first game of the season, under all of these conditions, go and ball out like that, well, it's like, okay, we can give him time to see what he does, and then we're just going to wait a bit. If he's putting up, even 80, 90 yards a game, getting good touches, and Le'Veon Bell decides to wait until week 10 to finally be there, they really won't care.
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of the idea that's been, the team is just kind of saying, okay, we're going with James Conner. We have faith in him, and so far, that's come to be the truth. But certainly that could change game to game.
Absolutely. I mean, again, for the Steelers, heartbreak. Their first tie since they went up against Atlanta. That was 34-34 back in 2002. The Browns' first tie since 89, but you've got a lot to learn from this. A lot to learn from.
Yes, they do. And speaking of the weather affected that Steelers and Browns game a lot. It was raining. The field was bad.
There were originally calls, and if you look at weather reports a couple of days prior to the game, you're thinking to yourself, this is going to have to be rescheduled. This is going to have to be moved to a different day. It's like, whatever. So when I saw that they were actually playing on time, I was like, huh.
Because they kept showing the weather pattern, right? Of
Yep.
the rain just coming through there, and they were still playing. However, in another game, because it got bad here, to the point where I don't know how the power didn't go out at my apartment, because literally I could hear the thunder. It felt like it was like right there. And I'm sitting there going, okay, I got lucky the power didn't go out, but that was not the case at Hard Rock Stadium, because they had two different lightning delays that delayed the game for 2.5 hours each time. So you can imagine Tennessee that's over there going, what the hell? We didn't sign up for this. And the Miami Dolphins players that are going, well, we're kind of used to this, but this is ridiculous, So, yeah, it got really cut up by the weather. Even then, it was still a really close game throughout. Eventually, in the fourth quarter, a kickoff return by Jakeem Grant, and then Kenny Still's big pass catch kind of broke it open. But honestly, I don't know. It was crazy to think this is the longest game since the merger.
Yeah.
Because of all these delays.
Yeah, you go from, the first opening day tie since Miami and Denver at Mile High back in 71 to this. And even with the actual, broadcast, it's like, we can only do one camera for a little while, so bear with us. And even at the bottom, something I've never seen, limited coverage due to lightning in area. I'm like...
Yeah, in the fourth quarter, they finally just had to say, after the second delay, because there was still lightning in the area, too, they finally had to say, look, we got to just play.
Yeah.
We're too far in to just cancel this thing or postpone it or whatever, so they kind of had to just let them play, but they couldn't put the camera crew in danger, so they just had one of those static cams, and you could sort of see.
And it just covered that part of the field.
Even then, what did you think of the Dolphins? I mean, Tannehill looked pretty good for, first time he's really seeing action here in such a long time.
Yeah, this is the Tannehill that everybody was expecting under Adam Gase. With the deep throws, moving around, really controlling and commanding an offense. And he made up for the fact quickly that Jarvis Landry is gone. So there's some really high hopes. It almost feels like, and yes, even though this is only one game, the overwhelming sense I got when I saw that was it's about time. It's about time.
Yeah, certainly. And what do you know? Frank Gore winds up outgaining his younger running back compatriot there. That dude, it doesn't matter. He's still got it. Getting to come back where he came from,
Exactly. It's not the Orange Bowl, but he knows the deal. So it's like, hey, it's no big thing. Plus, with all of those weather delays, that really opened up the offense in the fourth quarter and even in the special teams because it's like, hey, we just got two super long halftime breaks and everything. Hey, we're good to go. We're not gassed.
One bad thing out of this is Delaney Walker got injured and might be out for a while. So that's a blow to the Titans, certainly. He's still one of Mariota's favorite targets and a key cog in that offense. So,
Yeah, especially even though you have Derrick Henry in the backfield, you still kind of have to throw, and this is where you're starting to see Mariota's ceiling. It's like he's doing great within this system, but it's not the best for him. And then when you take away a dependable big target like that, it's like, all right, now, okay,
Is that what you felt out of this? Is obviously he eventually took Mariota out of the game, but it didn't feel like there was a flow at all to what the Titans were doing.
No.
It helps Miami's defense was pretty good as well. But
yeah, and that's always what I've felt about Mariota ever since he was drafted out of Oregon. He's great in a certain Chip Kelly-like offensive system. Going into this more, West Coast pro style, he can adapt, but there's going to be limitations and complications. And especially when you have the coaching personnel that you have in Tennessee now, that's even going to further those complications. So you're going to have to take what you can get.
Oh yeah, and it's just something that I can't quite understand. To me, it's still kind of amazing that Chip Kelly just didn't go to Tennessee to go be there with Mariota and make him the quarterback that he knows he can be. It was weird because under Mike Mularkey, it kind of worked. And then under this system, it hasn't been the greatest for Mariota so far. But look, it's one game. You really still have to work things out or whatnot. He doesn't have the greatest crew of receivers either.
No.
So they can really... I feel like it's the same thing sort of with Dallas. It's like you can kind of key in on Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm.
And even though Mariota can throw it, still trying to put the onus on him to beat you, I think is at least proven for this game that it works right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and things to fine tune in. Maybe at some point down the road, get more of an up-tempo offensive coordinator once they get the personnel right. But this whole year is going to be another work in progress.
Yeah. They got time to figure it out, but they have to pick it up quickly or they could see themselves behind in this division, or at least behind the Jags, if anything, rather quickly, because the rest of the teams in that division wind up losing. Let's sort of go some rapid fire here with all the common theme of being either quarterbacks coming back from injury, rookies, or sort of quarterbacks in new places. Andrew Luck finally getting back on the field after all that time off and everything. Has a pretty good stat line, but the Bengals defense winds up playing a huge role, especially with Clayton Fejelem's 83-yard fumble return for a touchdown. And basically the Bengals owning that whole fourth quarter because of Andrew Luck sort of making some errant throws and everything. what did you think of his performance, sort of overall?
For a guy who hasn't set foot on an NFL field in like 600 days, he looked great. For Andrew Luck's standards, he looked good. He's not as far off from his peak as one would initially think, and we're going to see that develop as we get closer towards the end of the season. And as a side note, Cincinnati, you found your new permanent road uniforms. Go with it. Just seriously, go with it.
Yeah, the white and orange with the black stripe.
They're Thursday Night Football color rush jerseys. Done. You have them. You wore them in a regularly scheduled Sunday game. Keep them. And make an alternative version for home. Done.
Yeah, and a positive is all three of the major players on the offensive side for the Bengals, they all got a touchdown. So they all played key parts in getting to win. But again, you still got some growing pains and some rust to wear off on Andrew Luck. He looked good, especially on that pass to Eric Ebron, who got to christen his going to a new team with a touchdown. But yeah, I think as time goes on, you got to remember the Colts line is still sort of growing with all the new additions and sort of gelling with each other. That Bengals D-line was the absolute line you did not want to see on your first game, and it certainly showed. So, for the most part.
Yeah, at least aside from the one hit he took early to the helmet, which was needless, and I'm thankful that resulted in an ejection.
Mm-hmm. That was nasty.
Yeah, he didn't get roughed up too bad outside of that, which is good. That's what you want in these situations. And now that he's absorbed some hits, I think that's going to help his growth as the season progresses.
Yeah, I don't know how anybody can say that it's not an ejection. He didn't even need to come get him. He was already getting tackled down.
Yeah. He bent down, got low to the ground, and even in slow motion, you can see Andrew Luck's head move about 18 inches. Bam! The refs made the right call. For all the adjustments in the preseason and everything like this, yeah, the refs have got to the point to where they're getting it right.
Yeah, I would definitely say, though, Thursday night is going to be very, very interesting. We're not going to spend too much time on this because the Ravens absolutely spanked the Bills. As you would expect, probably any team to play the Bills this season is going to spank them. They're bad. I don't know what kind of offense they're putting on the field, but
they got 3 points. That's a win.
and their defense was letting the Red Sea was already parting by the time Joe Flacco threw that first touchdown. Everything else was just going through. All three of the new addition receivers got touchdowns. I mean, it was nuts. Alex Collins was having a big day. Just the Ravens just balled out. And that's why I say, from what we saw from the Bengals against Andrew Luck and the Colts, and what we saw with the Ravens against the Bills, Thursday night is going to be either really fun or just one of those grinded out AFC North games, but it could really put one of those two teams in a nice pole position going forward, whoever gets to win that. If there's a win, maybe we have another tie.
Which I wouldn't necessarily object to. Maybe a 16-16, something like that.
Could you imagine 2 ties in the same division with divisional opponents both times? That's kind of crazy. I wonder if that's ever happened. That'd be interesting.
I'd have to dig through the records. I know that there's been like 2 divisional teams when they play each other twice, and there's been 2 ties, but it's been a few decades.
Well, one of the big matchups of quarterbacks was Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo going at it. Kirk Cousins certainly had the better stat line, and his team played much better because he has that heck of a Vikings defense right behind him, forcing Jimmy Garoppolo to throw 3 interceptions on the day. His winning streak ends with the first game of this season. I mean, I don't think you could have really asked for Kirk Cousins to do more than he did.
Mm-hmm.
And this is exactly what Case Keenum got the benefit of last year. That defense just went out there and mauled, baby.
Yeah. They went and they made Kirk Cousins, and especially he got Dalvin Cook back, so they're paying him, $84 million to go ahead, manage the game. Because, yeah, he made a couple of good throws, but that's mainly what he did. Hey, don't screw up. He didn't screw up.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't screw up. Jimmy Garoppolo did screw up. You got to worry about Marquise Goodwin. He went down. Didn't look good. Might have a concussion. He has a history of those.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were certainly missing a Jerick McKinnon here because he would have had the extra sort of a revenge factor on wanting to take it to his old team. But yeah, I wondered if Jimmy Garoppolo was trying to do a little bit too much sometimes too.
Well, considering as how the offense and everything is tailored around him, and that's kind of his thing going with Kyle Shanahan, you expect for him to do a little bit more. Combine that with the chip on his shoulder after everything that happened in New England. Yeah, his winning streak to start his career wasn't as great as Ben Roethlisberger's, but it was a lot more than Ed Rubbert, and that's just really what you expect.
Well, he has another NFC North opponent next week with the Lions, who we'll get to see on Monday night. We won't really talk about those games until, I don't know yet if we're going to do a Tuesday night show or just leave it to Thursday. I don't know. We'll talk about that. But definitely won't be doing anything on Monday night, so we'll just kick back, watch those, and just get to, if we go to bed before the end of the Raiders and whatever, the Rams game, then it is what it is. That's kind of late. But yes, right now the Vikings sitting pretty, looking good, and waiting to go play the Packers and perhaps sit atop that division comfortably. But we'll get there when we get there for that one. A lot was made of the Texans going in to Foxborough and play New England, especially after the way Deshaun Watson played the first time around. This time, though, coming back from the injury, not so hot. Just one passing touchdown. DeAndre Hopkins was kind of covered well. He threw an interception. He was making some really bad throws, especially in the first half. He kind of calmed down in the second, but did you see anything there?
I mean, he looked human. He really looked human, and I think the Patriots definitely game planned and learned a lot from what happened when the last time these two teams met and Watson came in. So very good preparation on their part. And on the other side of the coin, Tom Brady and this Patriots offense pretty much proved everybody right. Gronk is the best receiver they've got. Outside of him, they're kind of screwed.
Well, I mean, the Patriots still like the Patriots, though.
Well,
James
yeah,
White still catching passes. Philip Dorsett, who's been one of the ones that's been there for a while, got a touchdown. I think, for the most part, you're right in that Gronk is the man, but that's kind of always been the way, is Gronk is the dude. and Brady's made whoever it is better, and I felt like we kind of got the same thing here.
We did, but I'm also making a note that this only ended, even with as bad as they made Deshaun Watson look, this ended as a one-score game. A lot of other teams are going to take note of that.
I agree with you. Houston also tended to score sort of late in the quarters as well. They weren't... Mm-hmm. It took them a while to finally kind of shed the Patriots' defense, but yeah, I think people were expecting a lot more as far as the defense kind of getting up in Brady's face and making it a bigger deal, and you didn't really get that much. Like you said, game planned against him. It helped a lot the last time. They didn't have a lot of tape on Watson when they were playing. This time you've had a whole, however many games it was that he played before he got hurt, and then you've been able to scheme the way Houston is going to play with him. So to expect them to play the same or to have Watson look just as good, I think is difficult.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, Patriots keep doing the Patriots, and they keep winning. And Alex Smith keeps doing his thing. He goes to a new team, no big deal. Still Alex Smith. Still goes out there, throwing touchdowns, absolutely making the Arizona defense look bad. Adrian Peterson almost has 100 yards, receiving and rushing.
Told you he had some left in the tank.
Turning back that clock is Adrian Peterson. David Johnson signed an extension right before that game day mornings and all those start hitting. I think it was like at 4 or 5 a.m. They signed the deal, and he got like a 3-year extension for like $30 million.
30 million, I think, guaranteed, but the extension was, I believe, $339.
Right. It could go up to 45.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, he got a touchdown late. That was sort of the one thing that kept the Cardinals from getting shut out, but it was all Redskins. Chris Thompson looked good. Jordan Reed had one of his best games you've seen from him in a while. James Crowder looked good. Alex Smith was doing his thing. He was running. When he wasn't running, he was passing. And sometimes he was passing the short passes. Sometimes he was doing the intermediate stuff. So far, Jay Gruden making it work with Alex Smith.
Yeah, another former quarterback who knows how to work with quarterbacks. Plus, Alex Smith, even going back to the middle and end part of his tenure in San Francisco, he knows how to win games. Convincingly. This was another case.
Yeah, certainly. And they did that, and perhaps looked the best out of all the NFC East teams. Now, granted, they played the easiest of all the teams. That helps a lot.
Yeah, a team limited on defense, no real offensive line, although I sided with you. I think the Cardinals missed an opportunity to put Rosen in, at least for a series or two at the end, but, yeah.
C'est la vie, you know. They'll learn eventually, I feel like. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying not to throw him out there, but Sam Bradford didn't look very good at all. And
Sam Bradford looked like Sam Bradford.
That's true, too.
I can't sugarcoat it. We saw this in St. Louis. We saw this a bit in Philadelphia. We saw this a little bit less of it in Minnesota. But again, this is what he is.
Well, somebody that certainly played like we expect them to play, Phillip Rivers, had another tremendous stat line. He gave it his all, but it was not enough against the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. It's much more Tyreek Hill. This dude did it all. A 91-yard punt return, to start the scoring. Then he got a slant that he took all the way right after that, putting them up 14-3.
Yeah. The 91-yard return. This is after you force a 3-and-out. So this is the first time you or anybody else touches the ball the entire season. You go and you do that. That's insane.
Yes, you're not kidding. And it looked great because Tyreek Hill, how fast he is. He also caught like a little shovel pass at the 1 yard line from Mahomes as well to kind of cap off his day. So let's not totally overinflate what Mahomes did here. I know we have a friend who would certainly do that if he was on here right now. Obviously, his pass to Anthony Sherman was a thing of beauty, but 2 of his touchdowns were freaking pitches. I mean,
it's not quite Mahomes' time. Like the clock, it's a couple minutes away. You got enough time to grab a snack or something, but you're not there yet.
Yeah, and Tyreek Hill was so dominant that you barely ever heard Travis Kelce's name in here. I think the Chargers defense they didn't know what the heck to do with Tyreek Hill.
No, who does?
Yeah.
I mean, for everybody else, but when you got the guy, it's like, yeah, hey, and even then on one return, he even had the defender, even though it was a flag, mocking Tyreek Hill, flashing the peace sign, he was still coming and running after you anyways. So who else has a Tyreek Hill in this league? Nobody.
Nobody. And also the way Andy Reid uses him too. He just comes up with some crazy plays that end up working, and I think they made a big deal about the shovel pass that Hill caught of, oh man, that could be a play you could see a lot of teams try to do when they're at the 1 yard line. And I was like, who? Maybe the Cowboys with Tavon Austin and a couple of other teams. It's not going to be everybody.
Yeah, the last team that really integrated shovel passes like that into their offense? Cleveland. Do you want to be Cleveland?
No, I don't think you do. Well, maybe not. This week's Cleveland wasn't too bad, but
well, yeah, this week. But again, how can I put this? Cleveland did better, but Cleveland is only Buffalo, except less snow and you're farther from Canada. That's it.
Wow. To be fair, the Chargers had a lot of self-inflicted wounds here. They had a kick or a punt return that got muffed, and the Chiefs recovered it. They had another kicker issue that he missed a kick that would have made the game only 7 points and put the Chargers in a much better position to really be able to go for it on a final drive if they were able to get it back on an onside kick. The receivers were dropping passes. They dropped a few key passes that could have been. The Travis Benjamin one was that could have been a touchdown that he just dropped. As again, it's just the receivers not helping him. That's why Rivers had to throw so many passes to the running back, to Eckler, because he couldn't trust his receivers until Keenan Allen finally started coming in and catching passes. But I think he's also missing Henry a lot. But it's just, yeah, towards later in the game where he had to make those throws to Mike Williams with Tyrell Williams. Tyrell Williams dropped one that was like a surefire touchdown as well. He wound up catching one at the end. But it's just like the Chargers, again, just hurting themselves. I feel like we say this every year, and every year it's the same. They hurt themselves just as much as the other teams do.
They hurt themselves. They have kicking issues. It's like How many times are you going to beat yourself upside the head before you realize this is not a good idea?
I guess you got to do it several times. I don't know. And finally, before we get into the hometown shout out, the hometown anger or celebration here for leaving you, one of the better games of the whole week that I should have mentioned while we talked about the Saints and Bucs was the Broncos and Seahawks. Case Keenum, he threw 3 interceptions. Let's put that out there. Russell Wilson also threw interceptions as well. Both of them had 3 TDs on the day. Von Miller had a fumble recovery. The Seahawks defense was absolutely making hell out of the Broncos offensive line. The Seattle tight end Dillisley came out of nowhere and was something all of a sudden. Like this had a little bit of everything. It was just really fun to watch and so much going on. Like every time you thought, okay, this team has it figured out. Oh, just a touchdown, no big deal. And we're back to square one with them fighting. This was really fun to watch.
Yeah, and I said all along, yeah, you're going to see Case Keenum somewhere in between Houston and Minnesota levels. This is exactly what you got. I made some great throws, but under pressure, I had like some shaky decisions. And with Russell Wilson, just like last year, if he's not doing it for you, that offense isn't doing much by themselves.
It doesn't help Janikowski miss like 2 field goals. I wonder how much longer he has left.
I would say maybe a few games while they find and audition other kickers, but there's going to be a bad way to see Seabass go out.
Yeah. I mean, he also looks like I don't know if that's a muscle or he just ate too much or...
No, he's looked like that for like the past 5 years. I've seen him in Oakland that when they said he just like looks like he stole like for a Halloween costume.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, oh, that's so sad, but it's so accurate.
Brandon Marshall had a touchdown as well. Getting to... he looked like he fit right in with that Seahawks offense. Doug Baldwin got hurt, so we got to be kind of watching that. And Phillip Lindsay is another one you might want to watch out for. He had a heck of a game as well, kind of taking time away from Royce Freeman, which a lot of people thought would be the guy to kind of look out for in the running game for the Broncos. But I think overall, Case Keenum fits in with the Broncos, and I think they were wondering if they'd made the wrong decision after a while, but he kept them in it. The defense kept them in it as well, and sort of like what he was used to with the Vikings. He had a lot of opportunities, and he was able to make it work when it counted.
Yeah, he really did, and especially for week 1, that's about all that you can ask. But it's just another one of those to where it'll still be very, very messy when it happens.
So what do you think about the Earl Thomas thing? The Cowboys went up and tried to give him a 2nd-round pick. They said no. He comes in this game. He actually makes a play, gets an interception, plays well. He said he was coming back for the boys, for the his friends, his teammates, all of that. There's the thought going around that maybe they were waiting until after the Cowboys played the Seahawks and then dealt him. Do you think that this could still happen for the Seahawks, or is that dead? Also, I mean,
I honestly think it can still happen, especially if those are the reasons that he's giving, because this isn't the Legion of Boom. You don't have that same camaraderie there that you're used to, because a lot of those guys are gone and off to different teams.
Well, remember, he's from Texas, and he went to Jerry trying to get the Cowboys to go after him. So
yeah, and I honestly think after seeing this, he'll go ahead and try again. I mean, it's going to take a few weeks to get that feeling out process, but if things don't keep going this way, and he keeps getting sick of Pete Carroll, he's going to want out.
yeah, I don't blame John Snyder at all for trying to keep him as much as you can, or it's really wanting the most out of him, wanting a first-round pick or something. If teams aren't going to give you what you want, then force his hand and make him play. He did. He played decently enough, and we'll see once that Cowboys game happens, whatever happens in that game and whatever happens in the future. I think also, speaking on going ahead into that game, the way the Cowboys looked against Carolina was awful. And it wasn't the defense's fault. The defense played very well for the most part. Holding Carolina to 16 points is no joke.
Nope.
They forced a fumble early on for Christian McCaffrey that could have opened the game wide open. And still, I mean, Randy Gregory and DeMarcus Lawrence were giving that Carolina offensive line fits. And then you have Sean Lee played pretty well. The defenders. He could only really throw it to Jarius Wright for most of the game. And until it kind of opened up in the second half and he was able to, it helped a lot, I think, too, that Greg Olsen got hurt again, because he was kind of being a pest for that Cowboys defense to deal with. But the problem is the offense looks so bad. Yeah, go ahead.
No linemen. Your best linemen are out.
Well, one.
You're still shouldering things even more around Ezekiel Elliott, so defense is planned that way. Receiving core, mediocre. This is what you get.
Yeah, I also there's no one on that the receivers that scare you, and then Dak just seems lost. Like he was running for his life. He got sacked 6 times. I mean, there's not a whole lot you can say to that, but even when he had time, it seemed like he didn't really know where he wanted to put the ball. I think the receivers weren't doing the greatest job to get open either. It's just, it was a whole mess. That offense is a mess, and they've got to figure that out. Obviously, the Carolina, and all the teams are going to do this. They're all going to try to force Dak to beat them. And I wonder, you're sitting there watching Cam Newton run at the Cowboys defense and doing it successfully. Why can't Dak do that? Why can't you have Dak run more? I know you're scared about if he gets hurt, you don't have a quarterback. Well, that's your fault. And you deal with that when the time comes, but you need to put... Go ahead, what?
No, I was going to say, you go get a quarterback.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you need to put your team in the best position to win. And if that means letting Dak loose and running, like there was a few times, like on that last drive, where he throws the ball at the guy's feet. That's typically what Dak does anyway. But, like, he could have just ran and got the first down. Like, that's the only time that the offense felt like the offense was in the last couple drives where they're just having to go. And he's not having to, like, think about it so much. And I don't know. I don't know if it's like they made it too complex for him, or it's just, obviously it is a combination of not having the line so he can't run around and do all that. But, yeah, it's just, the offense looks so bad. And they were only in this that close to where all they needed was a touchdown and 2-point conversion because of the defense. And the defense got tired towards the end, too. So, you know, I'm happy for the defense to go out there and play a lot better than I think a lot of people expected. But that offense got to figure it out. Like, just got to figure it out.
And it's going to be quite a while before the offense really can figure it out because there's only so much that they have to work with.
Yeah, I mean, you got a divisional opponent on Sunday night next week. Typically, the Cowboys have done decently well against Odell. The thing is, Eli usually plays pretty well in Cowboy Stadium, or AT&T Stadium, sorry. So we'll see how that goes. Giants defense has done pretty well against the Cowboys, so it should be at least an interesting game as far as strategy goes for them. But speaking of the Giants, they're 0-1 because the Jags went out and beat them 20-15. I thought the Jags played as well as you could expect. Fournette got hurt, so that's something you got to be worried about, Eric.
I am worried about Fournette because you lose that tandem with TJ Yeldon, but kudos to Yeldon for really stepping up in Fournette's absence. And I don't like that we really got burned on that one deep touchdown pass, but Miles Jack working alongside that front seven, his interception return for a touchdown made up for it when we were really struggling to try to close out the game. And I'm obviously not disappointed because we won, but I'm a little bit worried because now, even with the Giants defense being what it is, the Jaguars are officially exposed.
Yeah, and they actually have done a good job of keeping Saquon Barkley under wraps until that big 68-yard run.
That was a bit painful to watch.
I mean, that was a beautiful run for your first touchdown. Gotta get...
Oh, yeah. Kudos, but it's like you couldn't have done that next week. You couldn't have waited a little bit longer, get your feet wet first.
Yeah, I still feel like you said it. They got exposed. I feel like they got exposed a bit on offense as well. With Blake Bortles just looking like Blake Bortles. Like, I guess he didn't look too good in this game at all.
Again, like Jalen Ramsey said, when he talking about Blake Bortles, playoff Blake is good. Regular season Blake, it's like we need someone else.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to deal with it. You paid him, so.
Oh, don't remind me. We have not had a good recent history with paying quarterbacks. Why do you think we kept Chad Henne so long?
And you have a date with the Patriots next week. So.
Yeah. I might. There's an angle to where I could get tickets to that one, and if I do, hey, great, but I'm not going to sit there and be sober.
How do you think the Tom Coughlin feels right now? Getting to walk in that stadium, watch the Jags get the big win.
I would think if I were him after that game, I would have flashed my Super Bowl rings, done a salute, and walked away. He's like, yeah, y'all have fun. Bye.
Yeah, certainly I feel like the Jags got off to how you expect them to. They're still the Saxonville Jags. Blake Bortles is who he is. They're going to run the same script as last year, and yeah, gotta hope it gets them just as far. I think once you get past the Patriots, though, you got a nice schedule for a little bit, so
yeah,
let's see.
If we could get past the Patriots and not be humiliated, even in a loss,
I don't think they will. I think they're going to play them well. Hey, remember, you were that close to getting... Yeah, you choked it away, but you were that close to getting to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that close to getting a Super Bowl, and I have even seen the infamous Chad Henne play the Patriots to a 23-16 loss in this very stadium here. I concur, but it's like I'm lowering expectations. If we go ahead and at least play them tough, great. But if we go and get the doors blown off, I would not be surprised.
Well, I think that covers everything from this week. As far as I don't want to even talk about that Thursday game. It was bad. It was bad. So.
Yeah, it was just about exactly like what happened in the playoffs.
And Julio Jones balled out, but that was about really the only positive thing. Other than me being a Jay Ajayi owner in 2 leagues, and he came up big when I thought, oh man, he's gonna do nothing. But honestly, I'm looking forward, looking ahead to Monday. Exciting to get to see Sam Darnold debut, and how the Lions are going to do against them, and are the Rams going to just absolutely whoop the Raiders? Hopefully that's the case, so I can go to bed early. But no, I'm sure the Raiders fans want to see some positive things, but I just can't imagine it right now. They have to be shaking their heads after what Khalil Mack did on the Sunday night game and go, God, why did we do this trade again? Why? So, yeah, it should be we'll discuss it. I don't know. We might do sort of a news show on Tuesday, and as well as talk about the Monday games. I don't know yet, because we also have a soccer show to do on Tuesday because of the second U.S. men's national team game against Mexico. So, again, don't know if that will be a thing. Maybe we'll skip this week and start doing it next week, or we don't do it at all. I don't know. That's something that I sort of came up with when we started the show. But definitely, we'll be back on Thursday. Sorry about the not having a show last Thursday. That game went way longer than it should have because of the rain delay. Both of us working the next day kind of just passed out. So, but yes, if those games end on a regular time frame, then we should be good. But yes, if you like what you heard, mix up my words here as we get to the end. You can hit subscribe to Football to the Max. You get anytime we do a show, it shows up in your queue to be downloaded or for you to just stream right there. We're on every podcatcher possible that's out there. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker is our host, but we're out there on iTunes and Stitcher and TuneIn Radio. All those places that you listen to podcasts on, we're there. If we're not on something that you like, let us know. I'll do my best to get us on there. We're on YouTube as well if you want to leave a comment there. On Last Word on Pro Football. On WTNet.com, of course. And go check out that College Top 25. We do a lot of work to put that together. And we'll see you Thursday. Check out Eric on the kickoff as well on Wednesday. And later, everybody.
Peace.